If you and your partner are interested in exploring sex parties or swingers clubs for the first time, it can be an incredibly exciting, fulfilling, and connecting experience. But it can also be incredibly nerve-wracking, and if not done well, it can create disconnection and challenges in your relationship. So to ensure that you guys have a positive and fulfilling experience, it is crucial that you and your partner discuss certain things before ever setting foot in a club or a party. So here are 7 important conversations to have from a sex therapist before you ever step into this scene. Hey there, I'm Lauren Consul. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified sex therapist here to help you have better sex and relationships. Number 1, you're going to want to have lots and lots and lots of conversations. Talk about what you're excited about, what you're nervous about, what you want to get out of the experience, and most importantly, talk about your why. Your why of why you want to do this. Because that's going to help you have a foundation when you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling jealous, if you're feeling scared or feeling off kilter, you can come back to this foundation of why. It's going to help guide you and orient you. So talk about why certain things are exciting for you, or why certain things make you nervous, or why you want to do this. This, again, is going to help you and your partner have a better understanding of each other and really prompt discussions on how to help each of you explore the things that you're excited about and create guardrails or support around those things that you're nervous about. This is something you can really hold on to and remind yourselves of on the way to the club or the party, remind yourselves during it, because it's going to help you feel like a team when you have a solid why together. And that's going to help you stay connected and build intimacy no matter what happens at the club or the party. Number 2, establish play boundaries. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, play is a term used to describe sexual activities. If you're playing with your partner, you're playing with others. Talk about what you're comfortable doing with each other while you're at the club or the party. And if you're interested in exploring and playing with others, what those boundaries are. Now, whatever you decide, I really am going to implore you to stick with those boundaries the first time you're at the club or the party. Do not change them on the fly or allow others to pressure you into something. You can always change these boundaries on the next time you go to the club. But really being able to hold on to those boundaries and stick with it is going to help you build trust with your partner, that this is a safe space, that when we set these boundaries, that we can play within them, and that's going to give you more liberty to open up in the future. But if you set boundaries and then cross them, that can create distrust in the future, distrust of yourself, of your partner, even if in the moment you're both like, yeah, let's go for it. When you set these boundaries and stick to them, it's going to help you create safety. Now, you can create something called a red, yellow, and green list beforehand, so you guys know clearly where these boundaries are. Red meaning that you and your partner will absolutely not be doing things that night. Doesn't mean you're not going to do them in the future, but that night you're not going to do them. Yellow means that you need to check in with each other before saying yes to doing this particular activity. And green means it is fair game unless a revocation happens, which is absolutely allowed. So even if it's on the green list, you get there and in the moment you're like, oh, actually, I'm not okay with this. You can revoke that in the moment. So really think about what you're comfortable doing with your partner, what you're comfortable doing with others, what you're comfortable with your partner doing with others, and include that all on your red, yellow, and green list. Number 3, you may want to consider taking play with other people off the table entirely for the first night, putting it in that red light list. Now, this will depend a bit on how experienced you are with playing with others. Maybe you have played with others in the privacy of your own home or someone else's home, but you've never been to a club, and so you may have a different idea of how to approach it. But if this is your very first time kind of venturing into this space, it can really help to take play with others off the table. It can really help calm nerves and really give you and your partner both an opportunity to process your feelings, be in tune with what's going on without this like pressure, like, is this going to come? What's going to happen? Where you are in your head rather than in the moment and really feeling your feelings. So this can really also help you guys get more comfortable with the space and in each other and this environment, which can be overwhelming for some people the first time they go. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of bodies, a lot of lights, a lot of noises, a lot of stuff going on. Because remember, you can always come back. You can always add in, do more the next time. But you cannot undo actions once they are done. Once you've done something, it's done. Now, of course, we can repair, but we really want to help set you guys up for success where you guys are just having good connecting experiences. Now, many people go to clubs or parties and never play with anyone, even if they've been a whole bunch of times. They just enjoy being in that atmosphere or just watching, or maybe they like being watched. So there is no requirement to ever play with anybody else. Number 4, get familiar with the space that you're going to. Now, if you're going to a club, a lot of clubs will have photos online of the club space so you can get a sense of what the atmosphere will be like, what the rooms will look like, what is available there. So go online, look at the photos, talk about what you imagine happening there. Again, going to what excites you, what makes you nervous, what you might like to see happen, how you might feel in those spaces. Have those conversations. Then when you arrive at the club, you can ask for a tour. Most clubs will offer tours to newbies so you can get a lay of the land, so you know where the bathrooms are, the lockers are, what rooms are where, and that can really just help introduce you into the space and get a little more comfortable. Now, if you're going to a party, a lot of times parties won't post photos online to keep privacy. It might be at someone's home or at a hotel, so you may not have that opportunity to look online. But when you arrive at the space, if there's not a host or someone who can show you around the space, which not all parties do, some will, you can just first do a lap or two. Get comfortable, give yourself your own tour. You don't have to dive right into anything. Find out where all the things are so you can, again, feel comfortable and start to calm those nerves a bit. Number 5, create an in-club or at-party communication plan. You and your partner will likely talk to different people in the night, and you're going to want a way to let others know that if one of you wants to exit the interaction or to be able to check in on the other. And this is true even if you plan to not play with anyone. If you have that boundary, we're not going to play with anyone, you might still talk to people and engage with them, so you're going to want to check in with each other. Now, you can absolutely be straightforward and say, no, or we're not interested, and walk away. What I find though is a lot of people have trouble with saying this in front of others because they don't want to hurt other people's feelings, or they want to do it in a tactful way, or they aren't maybe sure how their partner's feeling. So they would prefer to have a word or a phrase or a cue that they can use to check in with each other. Now, you're going to want something that won't feel totally off the wall to say, but also something that your partner will pick up on. You can use a phrase that's something common in this atmosphere, but that you and your partner will know is a cue that you guys are checking in on each other. For example, I've had people who've said, well, let's get a cigarette, but you guys don't actually smoke, so you and your partner will know the signal. Or, hey, let's go get a glass of wine, when you know you guys don't drink wine or you only brought beer. So these are something that is cueing your partner in, like, hey, I want to check in on you. And it might be, hey, do you want to get a beer? Do you want to have a cigarette? And if your partner wants to leave, they can say yeah. And if they're comfortable, they can say no. Or if you're wanting to leave and cue that into your partner, saying, I'd like to go get a beer. I'd like to go get a cigarette. Now, there are other things that I've heard sometimes is, oh, do you know the time? And so that tells your partner, hey, I'm checking in with you. We need a little time away together. I've also heard though people that if I ask for the time, my partner just keeps giving me the time and isn't picking up on the cue. So that's why really honing in on what your plan is ahead of time and making sure it's something that you guys will pick up on. Some people might feel more comfortable not having a verbal cue, but a physical cue, you know, a squeeze of the arm or a rub of the back. The challenge with this sometimes is you aren't always physically next to your partner. You may be standing across or sitting across a table, and you may not have physical access to your partner. Or it may be that you guys are touching each other throughout the night, so it's not something that is as obvious or stands out. Now, this can be different for different couples, so figure out what works for you. In addition to a check-in phrase or cue, you may also want to just have standard check-in times. So after an hour of being at the club or every couple hours that you set the time at, you guys are going to check in with each other. Or if you check in, okay, we're going to have one drink and then we're going to check in, or we're going to do some dancing, and whatever your plan is, you can have specific times that you are going to check in to just step aside and go, hey, how are you feeling? What's going on? Are you having a good time? Anything that's coming up for you? So you guys have that dedicated space to check in. Number 6, speaking of grabbing a drink, you want to decide on a substance plan. Now, if you're a consumer of alcohol or other substances, you may be inclined to use substances to ease your nerves, which I get. You're nervous, it calms you, makes you feel more open, but I would really, really encourage you to consider staying sober or really limiting your consumption the first time, and usually the first few times that you're visiting a club or a party, because substances can lower your inhibitions, which may sound great because you're nervous, but it can also alter your logical processing, which may mean that you are not as aware of staying within the boundaries that you discussed, or more easily can give in to pressure from others in the heat of the moment. Substances can also make it really difficult for you to be present in your feelings and your body and understand truly what you're thinking and feeling in that situation, so you can reflect on it better and really understand and collaborate with your partner as you guys move forward. Number 7, create an aftercare plan. This is after you leave the club. How do you want to process or come down or reconnect or take some space? So do you want to debrief right away on the drive home? Do you want to talk about what was going on? Or do you want some space to just kind of let it wash over you and process? Do you want to have some physical connection once you get home? Do you want to go grab some food? Like, what do you want to do? What do you think is going to be helpful for you in those moments after the club? There you have it. Attending a sex party or a club can be an incredibly exhilarating experience. It can be really connecting and deepen intimacy in your relationship. But it's essential to approach it with clear communication, mutual understanding, and respect for each other's boundaries. So talk about all the things we discussed today, create this plan, and then stick to it. You can always adjust and modify as you move forward. But once you create the plan, stick with it for that evening. That's going to help set you guys up for success, for an enjoyable and connecting experience that's going to help strengthen your relationship and your bond.